Here we go. Hi, I have the absolute pleasure of being here today with Emily Arden Wells, the author of Eat Post Like. Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm good. I'm so excited. I feel like we've been preparing for this, and I've just been so anxious to talk with you.
Yes, thank you for your patience. Everybody got sick multiple times, but now we are here. We finally made it happen. Finally made it. So thank you, and I'm excited to talk about my debut novel with you.
So exciting. Thank you for talking with me. Do you want to give us a little teaser what Eat Post Like is about?
The little spiel. I'm so bad at the spiel, but so Eat Post Like. This is my debut novel. It is about a woman named Cassie who is a lawyer in a very prestigious law firm, and she's kind of been living this very high driver life. She went to school, she did all the right things, she got a job, and basically she's sprinting straight towards burnout. And suddenly her boyfriend dies, and through a series of events, she basically discovers that he's been living this secret life. And that is like one of the big twists in the book, but which is very fun. And she basically ends up kind of stepping into his life and his secret identity as a restaurant critic. And that then opens up an invitation for her to then go to Europe on this once of a lifetime trip opportunity. And she goes and she meets a whole new cast of characters, one being Eamon, who's very hot. And yeah, and chaos ensues. So yeah, it's kind of a story about, all of us as modern women, and the pressure to kind of stay in our lane and do what we are told we are supposed to do versus, breaking out and doing what we want to do, which may not be the right thing, or the thing we've allowed ourselves to believe is the right thing. But yeah, it's about pursuing your passions and letting life happen. Because I think what so many of us do is we spend so much of our time and energy trying to control our lives and our destinies and our worlds and everybody around us, and it's sometimes we just have to let go and let life happen, and that there's blessings in that too.
Oh yeah, especially as moms, I feel like we
Yeah.
innately can't control ourselves from wanting to help everyone and control everything
Oh
and
my gosh. Yeah.
those
Yeah.
and yeah,
Let me
no,
help you. Let me help you. I can do this. I can do that. We quickly become super women. That's what we are, is what we're programmed to do. But
yeah.
um, yeah, sometimes you got to let go too.
And I feel like right now there's a whole phenomenon of people, especially in their 30s, trying to figure out a new path. And it just, I've seen it so frequently lately that people will have like degrees and stuff, myself included, and we aren't even using it. We're finding what gives us happiness and where our passions are, and just to figure out a new path. And I loved it. I feel like that was Cassie in a nutshell. She started
Yeah,
off.
and that's me too. I mean, I went to architecture school and I worked in very prestigious firms. I was on the track, and I burned myself to a royal black crisp. Um, and then I basically started doing other things, and it kind of led into this other life. And even though I still practice as an architect, it's not 100% of my time. And I've really tried to make space for the other passion projects in my life, which included writing this book, which have included other projects. So, I think it's important for all of us to, use the skills that we learned when we were in school and these degrees and these jobs and whatnot, but also to, be able to apply that to new skills and new passions, because we're always evolving. Everybody's changing.
Oh yeah.
I've always thought that was so silly that we as humans are expected to have one career and one career only and do that for 60 years and then get the watch and then that's it. But there's so much more, and we should be allowed to change and change what we're doing and use new skills in different ways. I think it keeps everybody creative and excited and engaged in your work and your life and everything. It's
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that we need to stop trying to push, and we're breaking those generational curses of like, well, this is what you did and this is what you have to do to be successful and to have a good life. Like, no, no, that's not
yeah,
true.
no, I just have to be happy. At
Yeah,
the end of the day, you just have to put a roof over your head and be happy. That's it.
yeah,
Nothing
that's
else
true.
matters.
In one of your posts, you mentioned that the story was inspired by a lot of your travels around the world, like you went to Paris, Rome, and that inspired your love for fine dining. Did you always have a love for the culinary world, or was this something that you grew into as an adult?
I did. It was always something that I really appreciated, probably from a very young age. My mom used to take me to this restaurant called Matam Fez. That was this Moroccan restaurant. I loved how immersive it was. So that was like my favorite restaurant as a kid was going to this like Moroccan restaurant and having, the tagine and, going in the tents and sitting with the blankets and the pillows and feeling like I was in another world. And then
Yeah.
that progressed into my stepmother at the time. We would go out to eat a lot, and that kind of turned me on to fine dining cuisine. And then in college, I lived with girls who were foodies, and then gravitated towards foodies like throughout my whole life. And one of my very good friends, Jen Pelka, she was the one who really um, like drove it home. She worked at Danielle in New York for Chef Danielle Boulou, and that's how I really started to learn about that like fine dining, that upper echelon of fine dining. So it all kind of played together, and I actually started a website with Jen, Gastronomista. It's still alive, gastronomista.com. That's my social handle, Gastronomista with an underscore. Follow.
Great.
Yeah. But that really became this like amazing platform for me. It started out as food and women and, women in the culinary world and all those things. But then when Jen kind of peeled off, my natural instinct was somehow towards cocktail and spirits. So that's kind of where I went. And then that really became this amazing vehicle for me to see the world. I've always, my dad was in the Air Force, and he was able to kind of travel the world and see the world, and that was something we always talked about, was like find a way to see the world. Like it's just as important as making money, as like finding a way to like basically have somebody else pay to have you travel. And that's kind of what I did. Like, but I did it as a writer. I did it writing for publications and writing for my own website, and traveling all over and going to all these different distilleries and wineries and learning about the cocktail and spirits world in like a very nuanced and specific way. And at the time I really looked at it as an education and was diligently taking notes, and but it was so far left field from architecture school. But in some ways, like they all kind of come together, like all the information comes together. But that period of my life deeply inspired this book. It was, in some ways, this book is my way of paying homage and saying thank you to all the people who took me on these amazing trips, because it was really something special.
And what a way to grow up, and what a way to go to school, because I mean, what a hell of an education to open you up to all these cultures. Plus, if you're into food, like you learn so much about people. Like for me, being a Latina, there's food and family go hand in hand. Our culture is so heavy and heavily like mandated and managed by food. Like it's just
Mhm.
we're very food centric. So I love that. So, but thinking back to all the places that you went to, what would you say was your favorite meal, and what was it?
Oh
And
my
where
God.
was it?
Oh my gosh, there are so many epic, incredible meals. Um, One that sticks out in my mind was a couple years ago in Chile, where it's called a coranto, and there's two ways that they cook it. It's either like a boil, or they bury it actually underground, and it's like potatoes. They like awesome little South American potatoes, seafood, shellfish, and then like sausages and meats, and it's just like
Oh, that sounds
unbelievably good. So that's definitely one. But I just got back from Chile, so that's like in my brain. I I didn't get to have it this time though, and because everybody went a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, you guys went without me. But then, I mean, I'm so lucky to have eaten at so many of these amazing restaurants. I mean, Le Bernardin is so incredible. I've eaten at the Jules Verne, which was also an incredible meal. I had one meal that was particularly memorable it was for the celebration of the 300-year anniversary of Martel Cognac, and they had this amazing party in the cellars of Versailles, and
uh-huh.
that was like
Okay.
unbelievable. They had coordinated the whole thing. They had like there were projections on the room, on the walls of the room and the ceiling, that all related to the meal. The meal itself was exquisite, but then they would kind of pump in these extra sensory elements, like sound, crashing waves, sea salt in the air, and it just became this like it was just like this very cool immersive dining art experience.
And because food isn't even just like what you taste, it's all like you eat with your eyes, like it's all sensory. Like if you
Mhm.
smell things, oh, like sniffing something as simple as like sniffing your wine. Like, oh,
Oh yeah,
can't
yeah,
even imagine how spectacular it was in that first sight. Oh,
yeah. That one was truly
dream,
special.
dream.
It's truly special. And I'm also blessed enough to have I have a very strong palate that like connects to all different types of my brain. So even just talking about that meal, I can recall like the smell of the basement itself, like walking through the basement and like, through the like the vaulted place, the vaulted parts of the palace where basically the horses would come through. I mean,
Yeah.
basement isn't really a fair word. It was like the vaulted entrance for the carriages.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky to that my palate remembers a lot of these things. It didn't remember it exactly, but um now I'm going to skip to one of your next questions. But when I was writing the book, I was able to kind of recall these memories of some of the meals that I've eaten, but it wasn't specific enough. So I had to go back and basically research and pull up old blog posts, menus. So I kind of rebuilt a lot of the meals that are in the book in like from scratch. Like I would go to TripAdvisor and find photos of dishes, and the really good ones were the blog posts of the like foodies who would take photos of every single dish, and then I
Yeah.
would match that to like a menu, and then I could like describe it. I could, I have enough understanding of food and cooking to be like, okay, this is what this would taste like if it, and kind of make those associations and pull things from wine lists. And so I was able to kind of collage those together for the book. But yeah, so in some ways that was like a collage part of the book. Like I haven't eaten at Noma, but I feel like I have because I like had to write about it in such a detailed way.
No, I mean you were so detailed with all of your explanations for all of the food. Like I was elevating like when you were described some of them. And I was just so curious like how you came up with everything for the Beyond Awards, but now knowing that you have a bestie that has like a restaurant and you've had this opportunity to be in like these super special and like exclusive places, it makes sense. But like did you get in contact with anyone that does like food awards, or how did you figure out how that worked for when Cassie was trying to go through that process?
So that part I think I could have been a little bit more diligent about. And I didn't talk to anybody who writes for Michelin. And Michelin was kind of the inspiration for the Viand Awards in the book. But I did speak with people who are on the panels for 50 Best. But 50 Best is much more loose. It seems like they rely much more on people who are already traveling, who are already reviewing places, who are already on the go, and those people are supposed to make suggestions.
Mhm.
And there's kind of an innate flaw in that because many of those people who are on press trips and they're um, being taken to restaurants, there's already a level of selection that's happening before that, and it's happening from like PR people and brand people, and it's like there's already a really strong filter. But Michelin, it seems like they're really great about really finding unique places, even if it's like food trucks and, or like very high-end restaurants. They find kind of the run of the gamut. And they're really sending people in like a very scientific, specific way. I think I've read that they do like 4 visits per restaurant, 3 or 4 visits per restaurant. You never know that they're there. They're like completely incognito.
Yeah.
But um, but what I did do is I read Ruth Reichel's book, which was like Caviar and Sapphires or some, I can't remember what it's called, but it basically talked about when she was leading the New York Times for restaurant reviews and all the steps she would take to basically be this person and not be found out. And she would go in costume and she would bring friends and they would like practice being in costume. And it became this like very theatrical thing. And I remember I was listening to it while driving, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so like visceral and so fun. And so I wanted there to be that kind of hidden identity, secret identity part of it, so we could kind of tap into this like kind of like wacky culture within food critics where they have to hide their identity and dress up. I just thought it was so silly and so wonderful. Um, but yeah, yeah. Anyway, that yes. So Ruth Reichel, thank you for your inspiration.
I thought it was so fun when I was reading, and at first, like my brain didn't. I don't know why my brain didn't connect, but when Cassie found all of James's costume things, like
Uh-huh.
the pigs and the fake licenses and all that, and in my brain, I just kept thinking of I don't know why Ratatouille, but just the comic aspect of it, and then her. I thought that he was like cheating on her. He was gonna like turn out to be like the psycho and like I don't know. But I loved it. I love that she took that on and then she started making her own personality and everything. And I just was wondering where you got that from of like wanting him to have costumes and wanting him to have like fake personas and stuff. So now I know.
Ruth Reichel. Yeah, Ruth Reichel. And there's also all these legends about Pete Wells too. I know he recently kind of stepped down and has released photos of himself, but for like the longest time, there was only one photo of Pete Wells like on the internet.
Oh.
And so my last name is Wells and my dad's name is Peter. And there was one time we went out to dinner, and at the end of the night, the waiter came over after my dad had signed the check and was like, "Is your dad Pete Wells?" I was like, "You've got to be kidding." No. My dad was like, "You should have lied and said yes."
We could have gotten an extra dessert. How dare you?
He was like, "Why did you say no?"
That's so fun. There's like this whole like special secret like world in the culinary
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
everything. Like, everything's so special. There's so much hush too, and there's so many things that I wonder like how do people even come up with the things that they do, where their inspiration comes from. It's just so interesting. Um did you make any connections between yourself and Cassie when you were writing, or who inspired Cassie?
Yeah. So there is definitely like a saying in the book world that like your first protagonist is always you. And so there's so many things about Cassie that are me. I mean, just like it was the only place where I knew how to start. And, not being like I didn't go to art school for a literary degree. Like I like was throwing stuff at the wall here. I was making this up as I went along. So like I was the best place to start knowing that. So I tapped into a lot of the feelings that I felt um being a professional woman in the world, and frustrations with current jobs and old jobs, and wanting to do better but feeling like you're hitting those brick walls and then feeling like a fish out of water. I mean, when I was on the road, and was I would be sitting next to these people who were like legitimate wine writers, and they'd be like, me. What am I doing here? I mean, that was definitely like I was a feeling I felt a lot of the time of just feeling like I was just this fish out of water, and I was like making it up as I went along, and I just like kind of charmed my way through it. But yeah, so they were all real feelings and all very much from my experiences.
I mean, you did great. And speaking of feelings, what the heck? I got so emotional with James. Like, I knew he was gonna die. I knew that was happening, but the way that you described it and just like the little nuances, like how she didn't want to use his cup and like they were dirty and like she just I got so sad. I was so overwhelmed because like I get it. Like I have my grandpa's perfume and like I refuse to sniff it. Like it's there and I won't move it. But it just was so emotional.
And
What
that means a lot to me to hear because I've been really blessed. I haven't lost that many people in my life. I hope we keep that up. But so that was I was that I had to dig really, really deep for the grief feelings. I've felt it in waves with like I friends of friends or kind of acquaintances or loose friends who have died, and those things affect you, but I've been so blessed and lucky not to lose anybody close to me. And yeah, so that was really, really hard. And I listened to a lot of podcasts, I listened to a lot of books, and just trying to hear, like, listen to how other people grieve, and kind of associating that with feelings I've felt of loss. But yeah, I had to dig really deep on those sort of things. And listening to music and how people like are processing their grief and those waves. And yeah, it was, I am thrilled that crossed for you, because yeah, that definitely was the most unfamiliar for me.
Not gonna lie, like you did a very good job. Like it just you feel like you're underwater. You feel like everything kind of works together. You can't really think straight. You don't want to do anything, and time just like is not it doesn't exist. But you did so good with like going from I'm pissed off, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm anxious to I'm sad. This just happened. My whole world just flipped upside down. I have no idea what's going on. To I want to do better. I don't want to be stuck here. I'm inspired. To now I'm on a big adventure and this is so much fun. And you just like took me on all of the emotional roller coasters, but it was so well balanced and it wasn't like choppy. Um, I mean, you kind of answered it for me, but I'm assuming. What was the scene that was the most difficult for you to write? Was it James's death or was it
No, hardest scenes for me to write were actually the sex scenes. Which is why I kind of like glazed over them. Like, this is not smut. It is not smut because like I couldn't do it. I did not have the capability. I kept thinking about like my dad reading it. I kept thinking about my mother-in-law reading it. Like it was like I had a really, really hard time with it. Like my editors were like, we need to up the like kiss count.
Like, hey, Dad, here we could do a question, Powell. We're just gonna like grab it, and then here we're gonna tape this. Yes, but no, it is not a smutty book. It is not a smutty book. That is not the plot. We are not losing the plot. It is about a woman that is done with all the BS in the corporate world and finds herself and goes on an adventure and learns to love life. Disclaimer: not a smutty book.
Not fun. If you want smut, go somewhere else. It's not here.
Not
if
here.
If you want food porn,
this is it. This is it. Why did you decide to give Cassie a second chance at love, by the way? Did you feel like it was too soon? Do you think you gave her enough time? Did you get any like criticism from anybody thinking that like maybe
no,
that wasn't needed and she was
again,
just an adventure and finding herself? Or
the one thing I have learned about women's fiction is people want smut. So like they wanted it, they wanted more, they wanted it to be hotter, they wanted I mean, I felt like it was pretty steamy and hot, but it was like tastefully done. But yeah, there were definitely people who were like, this was not a romance. I'm like, sorry.
no, I mean, so here I'm gonna give a little plug to Ruthie. So I love you, Ruthie. Musings of Ruthie, Ru. So she actually put us in contact with each other, and from the beginning, when she has asked me, she was like, "It's not a romance. It's not smutty. It's not anything like that." But are you interested? I'm like, yeah, like there's food. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fatty. Like I love food. But yeah, no, that was her disclaimer. She was like, it's not your typical romance. It's not a romantasy. It's not smutty. So yeah.
Well, I set her up with that because when the book was first released from the editor, they definitely tried to push it more as a romance. And when in the publishing world, what they do is they release everything to NetGalley first, and it's kind of like a free for all in NetGalley. And I think because it was set up as a romance, a lot of like typical romance readers read it and they were like, this is not what I signed up for. So I think that like it's been important to me to kind of reposition the book so that it's more of a women's fiction versus like a romance, because I don't think it is, there's not enough.
There is a romance that occurs
Yes.
in the book, but it is not a romance book.
Right. Yeah. It is not on par with like, where trends are going, so it is what it is. It is women's fiction. So when I was speaking to her, I was like, let's try to reframe this and like set it up for success.
She did it. I mean, she did. So thank you, Ruthie.
Thank you. We love you.
Yes. And speaking of friends, we can talk about Ruby. So
Ruby.
So Ruby's Cassie's BFF at work, and she's just like super cool, super quirky, I think. And I love how she's like straight to the point she is, and how she's just like this great positive enabler for Cassie and pushes her. And I think that if she hadn't had a Ruby in her life, I don't think she would have been able to like pursue this whole big new life-changing experience. So
Yeah.
um I loved that you included a BFF because we all need a BFF and we all need someone to push us.
Well, and every rom-com has a BFF. It's like it's like an important ingredient, you know?
But they all don't have a good sassy Ruby. So,
You get yourself one.
yeah, if
I don't know.
you need one.
Very badly there.
Um, her sassiness was just so great. She was blunt. She was straight to the point. And just like having her being that grounding point, like in the beginning, to like setting her off, and then when she has her big like moment, like cataclysmic, she like refocuses her and like, no, you've got this. Who was the person in your life, if you don't mind sharing, that was that person for you, who inspired you or kept pushing you? Or I know you mentioned your friend with the restaurant in Danielle. Who was that person for you?
Yeah. I just want to validate what you were saying, that everybody loves Ruthie. When I was in, or not Ruthie, Ruby.
Ruby.
Yeah, everybody loves Ruby. I mean, my editors from the beginning were like, we need more scenes with her. We want more with her. Everybody loved her right from the beginning. So, and I do think it kind of channels into that, that the core girlfriends, and how important that is in all of our lives. It's just,
Yeah.
friendship is so important. And I'm really lucky to have so many amazing, talented, beautiful, strong, driven women in my life. And Ruby is really an amalgam of all of them. There are definitely personalities that are more like one or two friends. But she really represents, the kind of ideal female best friend. And yeah, and in some ways like how I am to my friends too. It's like how we all are to our friends, and how our friends are to us. And um, giving that strength, giving that like sense of humor, other perspectives, getting us out of our ruts. It's just so important. But I'm glad you loved Ruby. Everybody loves Ruby.
Yes.
If there's a spin-off, maybe it'll be about Ruby.
I'm good with David, though. We can pass on David. So
Yes.
David was James's best friend.
Yes. It was a real,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, he was really annoying. I didn't know where that was going. I thought that he was like, as it was developing, I thought that he wanted to be the secret blogger and he wanted to take it over. And I appreciated that he was being protective of James's legacy. But
I
on
like
it,
this
he,
fancy twist. I like this.
yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but just the way that culminated their confrontation and everything, I was just like, oh. But I appreciated that it was just him protecting the legacy. Um, do you think that their apology session could have been approached in a different way and still had the same kind of an impact? Or where are you now, like looking back on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that could have been resolved better. When you're writing a book, you kind of set up all these parts, right? And some of them come like wrap themselves up in little bows, and then some are harder to resolve. That one was harder to resolve, but there needed to be like a climax confrontation point. And it was always thought that it was going to be David kind of calling her out, or some sort of a character like that. Yeah, I mean, that probably could have been better done, but at that point I was like, I gotta get this book done. um so I tried I tried to make David like essentially the antagonist, the kind of sand in the Vaseline, as it were. Kind of this like grinding element that would kind of continue to pop up and call her out and make her feel uncomfortable and kind of put pressure on the situation. And I also wanted him to be the kind of guy who had like no limits. Like he would be the type of person to show up in Venice be like, oh,
Hot
I
mess
found
express.
you. I found you.
He
So
was so infuriating. Oh
yeah. Well, I'm glad that that was successful because he was
god.
supposed to be infuriating.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I wish that that moment had been a little bit stronger, but yeah,
It came across. He served his purpose,
yeah,
and it still ended up making sense. And I mean,
that's all that matters. Yeah, as
no,
long
it
as
made
you said,
sense. It was good. Plus, he was a good like opposite, polar opposite to Ruby, and like you had the two contrasts. So honestly, it was fine. It was good. um, Speaking of happies and culminations and everything tying
yeah,
together, Eamon, Eamon. I said
amen,
Eamon in my head.
amen.
Eamon.
I used to say even in my head too, but I think it is amen is
I
the
think it's Eamon.
official pronunciation.
Yeah.
Amen.
He says, "Cheers to that, to life being lived." Um, for me, that was like my favorite quote. It was a marvelous tie to the theme. Like you need to find how to live your life the best way, the way that's gonna make you happy, give you satisfaction. And Cassie overcoming her struggles and like figuring out her purpose. Going on her adventure and everything. Not allowing yourself to be burned out. Finding the spice of life.
Yeah.
um, Fantastic. If you were pitching into a new audience, what's your biggest hope, or what do you hope that they take away from this?
I hope that people take away that they should pursue their dreams and go live their lives and shoot for the stars and get on that plane and you know, do what you want to do. Um, I think you know, this kind of goes back to the top of the conversation. You know, I think so many of us are like trapped in these expectations that we've set for ourselves, our family set for us, that society sets upon us, and you know, that starts to really weigh us down as people, as individuals. And I think it's important that, you know, we all find a way to, you know, do what we need to do, put a roof over our heads, support for our families, and be there for our families and be good humans. But also pursue your dreams. You know, if you want to do something, go do it. If you have a dream trip, you know, save up and figure out a way to make it happen. If
Yeah,
you want to write a book, you know, write an outline and start writing it page by page. It will. That's the only way to do it. The only way to do things is to just start. And um, I know that it is scary and I know that it is intimidating, but it's it's the only way because nothing is ever perfect. You just have to start. So yeah, I think that's the thing I hope people take away the most is just that you can do anything. You just have to put your mind to it, and have you have to let go of the fear and just, you know, take the jump.
yeah. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, life is not guaranteed. You never know
No.
what's going to happen, and if you're not afraid, you're not growing. It all interconnects. But to sign us off, what wine, drink, or snack was your go-to during writing, and um, what pairs the best with this mood, in your opinion?
Oh man. Okay, so I am not the best example because I wrote this when I was working full time. Had a small child, had a husband, had obligations and things I needed to do. So usually what would happen is I would be with my family, get everybody in bed, um, put my son to bed, and then at like 9:30, like crawl out of a dark bedroom. Which was like the hardest thing ever. And, because I was basically asleep and, I'd wake up and curl up in my writing chair with my laptop and I would usually have some sort of a bourbon or something next to me. And I would just start writing and I would write till I just couldn't anymore. And then I would go and fall asleep. And it was not the best way to do it. But it was the time I had. It was really the only time I had. So, yes. So bourbon goes with ice or neat.
And your kids' pancake scraps also will do in the morning, but you're trying to start your day and need your coffee.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like all bets are off at that point. My husband was incredibly supportive. Everyone in my life was incredibly supportive, but it was definitely very difficult to get it done. But at the end of the day, I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of all the words that are in the page, and I think I'm proud of my writing. And that was the most important thing for me as a debut writer. It's somebody who was trying to do something that felt very intimidating and scary and foreign. Um, and just so you all know how scary and foreign this was, like, I mean, my parents used to tell me how I couldn't write. Like, they were like, you don't know how to write. Like, you can't
What?
write. Like in high school, they'd be like, you can't write. So like I've always had it in my head that like I can't write. And even when I was writing for national publications, I still was like, I can't write. Um, so I think with this book, I have finally overcome that hurdle.
Yeah, you did. Well done.
Yeah.
And thanks for not letting those words hold you back and finding power in your own words, because you did
Which
it.
is a lesson to everybody. Nobody should let those kind of stupid words stay in your head and shape your destiny. It's scary and it's uncomfortable and it is, very hard, but you can always overcome or can always learn new things. I mean, I definitely became a better writer through this process and became a better writer, um, just sitting down and forcing myself to do the work. So I learned a lot through it. And, so everybody out there, just have faith. Hard work will make you better.
Can't get better than that. Go live your dreams.
Yeah.
Go. Don't let anything hold you back, and go buy E-Post by Emily Arden. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. This was so fun.
No, I appreciate you sitting down with me. It really was fun. Thank you.